First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here and to participate with Café Babel, which I think is really a wonderful platform for people to communicate throughout Europe. As you mentioned, I've been here since around the beginning of the year. I arrived in December of '09, so I'm coming up on my one-year anniversary as ambassador, and it has been such a privilege not only to have this opportunity to represent the United States government to the European Union, which is clearly one of our most cherished allies, but also to represent Barack Obama, because our president campaigned on a platform of engaging with the rest of the world. He's very much a multilateralist, and it's not rhetoric. He really believes this to his core. And I think the world recognized it. During the campaign when he came to Europe, it was clear that the world, and including people here in Europe, were hungry for a new generation of American leadership that wanted to engage with the world. So it's really a privilege and a joy to have the opportunity to represent this president at this particular time. Well, we welcome the Lisbon Treaty and what Lisbon represents, the promise that Europe will become a more influential global actor. We're going through a transition with the Lisbon Treaty. Transitions are hard. These are big changes. Fundamentally, it involves a shifting of the power dynamic among the major EU institutions, and this takes time. It's a transition period. We will be patient. We have no choice. I'm actually find that I am more optimistic about Lisbon and what it represents than many people I talk to here in Europe, because I do believe that over time Lisbon will be seen as a quite significant change and improvement. And already we're seeing some improvements. For example, Cathy Ashton has developed a very warm and productive relationship with Hillary Clinton. We are very much looking forward to the first post-Lisbon summit between the United States and the EU, because we will have in President Van Rompuy a permanent president of the EU. These are significant changes which we welcome. Oftentimes when people talk about the post-Lisbon changes, they often forget that dealing with any government is fairly complicated. You know, I always get asked this question, is there just one telephone number to call Europe now that we have the post-Lisbon structures? And the answer is no, but there's never just one phone call in the United States. If you want to get something done in Washington, if you're lucky enough to call President Obama, that's probably the most important call to make, but you have to make many calls to get things done, and that's the way governments work. We understand who has the authority to speak for the EU on different portfolios, and we've been able to, I think, deal with the people that we need to deal with. It'll even become clearer once the External Action Service is completed. We're very much looking forward to these changes, because we'll have in the External Action Service a structure that looks more like our State Department. So on foreign policy issues, our interaction with the EU through the External Action Service, I think, will be more efficient and coherent. We don't expect that Lisbon means that the EU will become the single voice of foreign policy for Europe. We have bilateral relationships with all of the EU member states, which we value, and we will continue to deal with Europe through both the EU and also bilaterally. That's the way the EU has organized itself. And for us to be effective as a partner to Europe, we have to work both channels. That's the interesting thing about the EU. It is one of the most remarkable institutions in the world, because there's no institution that has so effectively pooled sovereignty among its member states on so comprehensive a range of issues, which makes it more complicated. But I do believe that Europeans recognize and Lisbon is an expression of this, that for Europe to be a more effective actor in the world, on many issues, it's more effective for them to speak with one voice. It's my understanding that one of the purposes of the Lisbon Treaty was to address the so-called democratic deficit in the EU, as some people have called it. And one of the ways they did that was to give greater powers to the European Parliament. We acknowledge and respect the enhanced role of the European Parliament in this new post-Lisbon environment, and we're working very hard to deepen and intensify our relationship with the Parliament. Now, whether the post-Lisbon changes address the perception among some European citizens of whether this democratic deficit has been addressed, that's not for me to say. That's for Europe to decide. You know, our role is, we're not part of the European Union, so our role, of course, is to partner with Europe through the European Union and through the member states to advance our interests around the world.